I really enjoy photographing architecture with an ultra-wide angle lens, and in some cases the wider the lens is, the cooler the shots look. But wide angle lenses are also super challenging for me, because they don't allow me to cut out distractions and isolate a subject as well as tighter focal lengths can. Versatility is a big factor for me when I'm out shooting. I'm always very hesitant to pop on a wide angle lens because it feels restricting. Having a wide angle on the camera might be cool for this exact scene I have in front of me right now, but if I walk another 30 seconds, it might already feel too wide and I get the urge to switch back again. And as a world-class lazy person, I'm not about changing between prime lenses every other minute. That's when I decided a wide-angle zoom lens might fix this issue for me. Today I'm reviewing the Laowa CF 8-16mm for Fuji X, and I'm taking it on a trip to Brussels. I've never been to Brussels before, so I was very excited to take some photos of the Atomium. This is such a weird structure and really makes you think if it even physics. But this is the perfect place for ultra-wide lenses and you can get some crazy perspectives here. This is an even crazier perspective than thinking Star Wars Episode 9 The Rise of Skywalker was a good movie. Just a quick disclaimer here, this lens was sent to me by Venus Optics for review, but I'm sending it back as soon as this video goes live. No money exchanged hands, and all thoughts in this video are my own. Well, I was abducted by aliens recently, so maybe I can't make that claim anymore? As you would expect from Laowa, the full metal build quality is extremely good. They make some of the highest quality feeling lenses out there. I have the lens for the Fuji X-Mount, but it's also available for a bunch of the other mirrorless mounts. It features the big focus ring up top, the zoom ring in the middle, and the aperture ring below. And this lens has a trick up its sleeve. On the side you can flip a switch allowing you to change between a clicked and declicked aperture ring. Definitely love to see that. Yes, this lens is manual focus only, which might be a turn off for some people, but this lens is so wide that manual focus is super simple. As you can already see on the focus ring, basically everything above 1 meter is infinity focus. On many lenses, the actual infinity focus point doesn't align with the marking on the lens, which can be very annoying, but on this lens, I was very glad to see that turning the focus ring all the way to infinity gives you a perfectly sharp horizon. So you can pretty much just leave the focus at infinity most of the time. If you have issues manually focusing with this lens, I'm sorry, but you might be the problem. Just like you might be the problem if you aren't subscribed to my channel yet. Yep, that's a great way to get subs, Felix. Just like insult them and then ask them. We then headed inside the Atomium where they had a huge light exhibition. Just a quick warning, the rest of the video will include flashing lights. So if you're sensitive to that, please don't watch any further. This exhibition was super cool. The lights were synced to the music, but I have no idea if that music is copyrighted, so I had to replace it with something similar that won't get me a copyright strike. Okay, just kidding. Because I did zero research before this trip, I had no idea the slideshow was in here. And if I had known, I would have definitely brought a tripod. That would have made things a lot easier. I just placed the camera between my legs on a bench and on some railing to get long exposure shots, which also worked, I guess. But the only problem is that I have my leg on a few shots because I'm an idiot. But I also got a bunch of leg-free shots here, which I'm quite happy with. I really like this shot on the stairs with Yannick standing up top. I just wish I had gotten my framing right to make it perfectly symmetrical. Unfortunately, it was pretty crowded in here and people behind me were already annoyed because I stopped for a few seconds to take this photo. I think the natural progression of every photographer is just to accept over time that you're gonna annoy people wherever you go. I'm sorry that we just stop walking and stand in the middle of the way, we can't help it. One thing that is quite uncommon for ultra-wide angle lenses is the ability to use standard lens filters up front. Usually you'll have to use rectangular filters, which are a whole headache on their own. But by screwing on this included hood, you can use standard 86mm lens filters. Just make sure they're relatively slim, otherwise you might get some vignetting on the wide end. At 8-16mm, this lens is equivalent to a full-frame 12-24 lens. I feel like this is the perfect focal range for architecture photography because it offers a lot more versatility than a prime lens. It might not sound like a big range, 8-16, that's only like 8 numbers in between, but many people forget that on the wide end, every millimeter has a lot more impact. A standard kit lens like the XC16-50 gives you a field of view from 82.8 degree to 31.5 degree. The 8-16 gives you a field of view from 120.9 to 82.8 degree. So despite the focal range sounding a lot smaller, the field of view range is still very significant because focal length versus the actual viewing angle is not a linear scale. Just like my bank account, at the beginning of each month I think, wow, this is great, and after a week I realize, oh god, where did all my money go? So the range from 8-16mm is super versatile. At 16mm you have more of a standard focal length, it's equivalent to 24mm on a full frame sensor, and that's a great focal length for street photography, landscapes, travel stuff, or just photos of people. Then on the other end you have the extreme wide angle at 8mm, and zooming in between allows you to get your framing perfect. Here for these shots in the light exhibit I was zooming back and forth a lot to get rid of people standing off to the side and to especially make sure my foot wasn't in the frame. Look, I can't help it, my shoes are size 14. By the way, if you like how these color images are looking, they are all edited with my Analog Vibes Lightroom preset pack, which you can get for just $5 at the link down in the description. I don't have a sponsor or anything for this video, so any support from you goes a super long way so I can make more of these videos in the future. I mean, if you really want that, I don't know. It was a very overcast and rainy day, and on the inside of the Atomium in the light exhibition it was also very dark, so I was using the lens wide open pretty much all day. At 8mm the lens is very sharp in the center, but when using it wide open at f3.5 it definitely loses sharpness towards the edges and has a decent amount of vignetting. Vignetting can easily be corrected in post though. Unlike my criminal status in Wales I got for tweeting that their princess was bad at playing the piano. Can't fix that one in post. I was expecting to see a fair bit of chromatic aberrations in the corners, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Stopping the lens down a bit already significantly increases edge sharpness and lightens the vignetting. When you zoom in, the problems I've mentioned also become less and less pronounced. Just like in an emergency situation on a boat, we need to talk about flares. Okay, I admit I've made better jokes in the past. Flare control is pretty good when stopped down and when shooting straight up. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the boat stuff. When you have the lens wide open, you get this oval flare. And if the light hits the lens from the side in just the right angle, you lose contrast. But that's an easy fix. Just move your camera like 1 degree starboard. Okay, I swear that was the last boat joke, okay? I swear. One thing that is actually shocking about this lens is that it basically has no perceivable barrel or pincushion distortion. That is really impressive for a zoom lens that gets this wide. It's completely insane how wide this lens is. The only thing that is wider is me on shoulder day. I'm just kidding, I don't even go to the gym. That's why I'm happy my weak noodly appendages don't have to carry as much with this lens. Despite the super solid metal construction, it's still decently light, coming in at 463 grams. It's also relatively small. Now some of you might say, no, that's not a small lens, because there are way smaller Fuji lenses, and you're right. But when you consider the engineering that went into this lens, you start to appreciate how compact it still is. It contains 16 elements in 12 groups, and when you compare it to its direct competitor, the Fujifilm XF 8-16 f2.8, there are a lot of factors where the Laowa makes more sense. Of course, the XF 8-16 has a wider aperture, but it's almost double the weight, it's huge, and it's more than double of what the Laowa costs. being inside the atomium felt quite surreal, because from the outside it already looks like a big middle finger to Isaac Newton. But when you're inside and realize, wait, I'm in this weird structure of spheres connected with pipes to a bunch of other spheres, it really makes you hope that the engineers that built it in the 50s knew what they were doing. Unfortunately, taking photos out of the side windows didn't turn out as great as I had hoped, because the windows were quite dirty from the outside. But I can't blame them, because I haven't cleaned the windows of my apartment since I moved in, and it's not even shaped like a 102 meter tall atom. Of course, the Laowa CF 8-16 isn't perfect. Flare control could be a bit better, and I wish corner sharpness was better when using this lens wide open, but the fact that they've managed to keep the front element small enough so you can still use standard screw-on lens filters is seriously impressive in this lens category. Same goes for the extremely good distortion control. If you don't mind stopping the lens down a bit to get the best image quality, or already know that you don't need the XF version with an f2.8 aperture because you're going to stop it down anyways, then I think this is a very good buy, and I'm very happy with the shots I was able to get with it. Yes, obviously there are trade-offs, but I really hope this lens is a trendsetter, because a new, well-engineered lens is always a great thing for the Fujifilm ecosystem, especially if it competes in an area where there weren't any other options before. By the way, I was using the Fujifilm X-A5 this entire day, and you can watch my last video if you want to see the rest of this trip to Brussels, along with my thoughts on this budget Fujifilm camera. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye bye!